Marylanders could indeed be digging a bit deeper to feed the state government this year, but how much is too much? Former Montgomery County delegate Robin Ficker has some ideas on that one. He is not a friend of new taxes, and by the way, he's now running for the state's 6th district congressional seat. Mr. Ficker, good to have you here with us. The governor says he hates to do this, but he thinks it's the only fair way to help close that budget gap. What do you say?
Well, he's a tax increase specialist. This year's operating budget is 8% larger than last year's. This year's operating budget is 1/3 larger than that of 2006, despite having the deepest recession in 70 years. He needs to control his spending. In 2002 and 2008, he increased the top-level income tax bracket 52.6%, increasing it in both of those years. That's too much, and people who are job creators are moving out.
All right, we're talking $1 billion deficit, though. He's already dealt with billions in spending cuts over the last few years. He says this would balance spending cuts with $300 million in tax increases. What would you do to fix the problem?
Well, I think he needs to look at what he...
Okay, give me a specific program you'd be willing to get rid of that would save $1 billion.
I think we need to stop giving large pensions to people who are retiring in their 40s and 50s. We can't afford to do that anymore, and that's a large hunk of this budget.
Okay, you make a good point. One big problem they have is teacher pensions. He wants to shift a lot of that responsibility to the counties. Part of this increase is to put the money in there for that transition. You say do what instead?
We just had a large increase in teachers' pensions right before the election, too. He doesn't mention that. He needs to control his spending. For instance, he wants to make the state gasoline tax twice that of the Virginia gasoline tax. That's a tax on our hardest working citizens, people going to work. Where do you think the jobs are going to go? Right across the river.
Well, I think you make a decent point, but the fact is when you start talking about controlling spending, what that really means is somebody's not getting paid. Every time you try to do that in Maryland, the protesters line up, the people who have jobs with the government line up, and you can't get that done.
Well, he's been controlling spending all right. Over the last 6 years, the transportation budget has not increased at all because he's been raiding the Transportation Trust Fund. But health and mental hygiene budget has increased 50% over the last 6 years.
All right, Robin Ficker, that'll have to be the final word for our conversation tonight. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
We appreciate it.